Hi, welcome back to my Black Girls in Architecture series. If you're new here, my name is Morgan Medley. I am a senior at Enloe High School located in Raleigh, North Carolina. I have dreams and aspirations of being an architect. So for tonight, our special guest is Miss Terry Canada, the principal, co-founder, and project manager of Evoke Studio located in Durham, North Carolina. Ms. Canada is an advocate for architectural design within each community she has served for over 20 years. She has thoughtfully and efficiently guided award-winning projects from pre-design through construction administration. As a founding principal and project manager at Evoke, she has carefully guided key stakeholders through the development of esteemed projects for their communities by creating a unique design process for each client. So let us welcome Miss Canada.
Hi, Morgan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Thank you.
I know we briefly met last Friday to talk about just your studio and how you guys run things. And then you also took me over to a landscape architecture studio. So tonight, really, we're just going to be focusing on your background and what you overcame and went through to be where you are today.
Great. That sounds wonderful.
Okay. So starting off, I just wanted to know where you're originally from.
I'm originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. So right down the road.
What were your interests when, you were really young? Did you automatically know you wanted to be an architect, or did you just have a switch up, or?
Well, when I was younger, I really didn't know what architecture was, but I knew that I loved to draw. I love the arts. And also, when I was younger, my dad had his own construction company with his brothers. And sometimes I would go on site and see what they are building. And that sparked my interest in how do you build things and who designs the things that we build. And so I would say right around the age of 10, I started to get interested in architecture.
So was that when you knew you were in love with it, or was it like a class that you took in maybe middle school or high school that really stuck with you throughout your journey?
Actually, it was a slow process, and I think once I got to college, that's really when I fell in love with it. But when I was younger, I knew that the components of architecture interest me, and so I just continued in those passions. Visual arts, performing arts, math, science. And then in high school, I did take a drafting class. And so that sort of got my interest in the technical side of architecture.
Were you really close with any of your teachers? Did you take any art classes that just really stuck with you, or was it just, you were taking the classes to prepare yourself?
So in high school, I was just really interested in art. And so there were a couple of teachers there at Grimsley High School, shout out to Grimsley, that really supported my artistic side. And on my own, I really like to, like I said, sketch and draw and paint as well. So there wasn't a particular teacher, I would say, but just my own curiosity about things drove that passion, and I took advantage of everything that was available to me in high school.
Growing up, did you really admire your brothers, or was there somebody else, like a female figure, or just somebody that really helped guide you through it all?
I would say my mom was certainly a guiding figure in my life. She was not an architect, but she did love architecture. She would point out things that were buildings that were being built. She would take me on site of houses that were being built. So she was really, I guess, the first person that sparked my interest, number one. And as I went through school, she really encouraged me to stick with it. I know at one point, right as I was about to graduate from NC State, I was thinking, hey, maybe I don't want to do this. And she said, move forward with it. You've worked on it or at it all these years, and then I want you to get licensed. And so my mother passed away in 1996, and I was licensed just before then. So I was proud to be able to go on that journey with her before she passed away. So she was my guiding force, for sure.
Did you say that you only took one drafting class?
I only took one drafting class in high
Did
school.
did you like it, or
I
was it?
did. It was just that they only had it a specific time. There weren't multiple classes, and so I took it at a critical time. I think it was my junior year in high school, just to find out what that was all about. But as I progressed in searching out or seeking out universities and architecture schools, I learned that drafting really wasn't something that they were looking for. They were looking more for your artistic abilities and your design ideas. So I didn't pursue that much further. I will say this, though, between my years of college and going out into the real world, I did take drafting classes on my own at Guilford Tech.
Mhm.
Um, it was um, over the summer. So I knew that to prepare myself for the real world, I would have to take those classes on my own.
So when it came to the classes, was it just that your school didn't provide the classes for you to take, or was it more of a just you were just really interested in like art, so you took more art classes, and then by the time your junior year came, you just decided to take one drafting class?
Yeah, it was that they didn't offer. They only offered one class, and I think it was a beginner's class and a class that was a little more advanced. And so I took the beginner's class at that point, and but by the time my senior year rolled around, it just didn't work out for me to take that again. I would say that my school was not as advanced as your school is now, and I understand that you have all of these great courses that you can take, and that's amazing. I think that's wonderful. And my old school may have a program like that now. I don't know, and I should check that out. But I think what you are being offered is completely amazing, and that's great that you're taking advantage of it.
I think just over time stuff's evolved because I know my school I think most Wake County high schools we have this thing called CTE courses, and they're
Okay.
really like little what are they called, like bubbles, I guess, of courses that all go with each other, and then I think once you've completed one of those specific bubbles, I think you can take a test to like certify in it, or get like college credit for it. So I know for most of mine, all of my classes go towards each other, and then they also go with another different, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of what they're called, but I know they gave us at the beginning of my freshman year, they gave us just a piece of paper and it put all of the certain electives together. So I know like my drafting classes all go under like the engineering and architecture courses. And then I also
Mhm.
took like personal finance and entrepreneurship, and those all went towards each other. So I think it's just it's amazing to see how stuff's just changed over time, and like how you guys weren't offered it, but like now we have like the whole world just like in our hands. It's just crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
Um, so what college did you attend, and what did you like do in the process of getting your degree?
So I went to NC State. At the time, it was called the School of Design and College of Architecture. Um, and so I was in pursuit of my fifth year instead of master's degree. So I went through undergrad 4 years for environmental design and architecture. And then I took an extra year to get my degree so that I could go for my licensure. That
Mm-hmm.
was my main goal all along, was to get through that program, learn what I could, which I learned a lot, and then once I got out and started working to get my license. If you're going to teach, it is good for you to go ahead and get your master's. If you want to learn more about architecture and really are excited about learning about theory and fundamentals and things like that, then your master's is a spectacular thing to go and get. And I encourage everyone who wants to do that to do that. It just was not my plan. So
Did you do any internships while you were in college?
I did. I worked for a firm in Greensboro when I came home every summer. And it was really about learning the basics of architecture. It was really about learning some of the business side of architecture. And so it wasn't glamorous, but the person I worked for um, taught me a lot about what's important uh, when you are in the practice of architecture. So yeah, it was a good experience.
Uh, so while you were in college, was there any like classes that I guess you took that you weren't necessarily really like prepared for coming straight out of high school and only taking one drafting class?
hmm No, like I said, at the School of Design, you have 1 year of fundamentals, which means you can go in and explore and learn about the basics of every aspect of design. And it's really, sometimes it feels like you're taking an art class. And so I felt right at home. It was a little scary at first because, they were asking us to do things that I'd never done before, like create large scale, um, almost statue objects, or something that, as far as the crafts side of it, I had
Mhm.
no clue of how to do. But it was fun to learn. It was fun to overcome that. I think it was just very sort of a space where you could design and feel free to do what you want before you went into your specific program. The whole time, though, I didn't appreciate it. I was thinking, I'm ready to get into architecture. I'm ready to study, and learn about architecture. And the whole time, they really wanted to loosen you up and get your creative juices flowing. So I think it broke me down a little bit in a good way so that I could be prepared when we went into the architecture program to really have an open mind about things. So,
Did you have any like portfolios that you had to create while in high school that you sent to you submitted to the college you applied for? Because I know for me, UNC Charlotte is requiring them, and I think also NC State.
that's correct, yes. And lucky for me, a year before, I think it was my junior year as well, I got in contact with someone who went to NC State. And I said, okay, what do you need to get in? His name was David Sledge, and he sat down with me and said, you need a portfolio. And these are the things that they're looking for. I also sought out a local architect, Clinton Gravely, who allowed me to come into his office and tour it and look at what they did, similar to what you did the other day with us. And it helped to give me a clear understanding of what people were looking for when I applied for architecture school. So it was very helpful. I don't know if you are or have had to pull together a portfolio for your um, applications, or have you gone through that process?
Uh, well, I know for UNC Charlotte, they're requiring one, and when I was talking to my dad about it, well, for my drafting class, we did a lot of work, but most of it was just like year-long projects, so it was like step by step. So I have stuff from that, but my dad set up a meeting like maybe a year ago, with a girl that does attend the architecture school at UNC Charlotte, and she let me know that she hadn't done like any architecture classes, in her portfolio was just full of paintings and just like drawings and sketches. And that was brought to my attention that most architecture schools aren't just looking for like the basic, okay, you can draw a floor plan. They want to see like your creativity and like your drawing skills outside of just using a ruler and an eraser. So I think that's what I'm trying to get more towards this year, because I know for UNC Charlotte, it's due next year in like February.
Okay.
So I think what I'm trying to do is just focus more on like my drawing and art skills, so that they can see that I can do multiple things other than just using a ruler and looking at uh, photographs and sketching it out.
Right. No, I think that's wise. And it doesn't necessarily have to be drawing or painting. It's
Mm.
creating with your hands. It's what you're doing right now is something that they would probably be very interested in seeing. So, anything that involves something that you have initiated that is creative in any way, they will be interested in it. So.
What kept you motivated through high school and college? Like, what was your main goal that you were trying to pursue?
Well, like I said, I always wanted to be in the practice of architecture. And so that focus, knowing that eventually one day I would get there, kept me going. In high school, it wasn't too difficult. I made excellent grades and I was involved in a lot of different things. So I really enjoyed my high school experience without the pressure of, what's happening next. When I got into college, I felt a lot of pressure because I was learning a lot of new information and, just trying to keep up. But again, I kept thinking about what's the end goal here. I want to be out and I want to be practicing and I want to learn as much as I can to get there. And so that, and again, my mother was constantly encouraging me whenever I thought I couldn't do something. She would push me to say, "You can do that." So.
Just a quick question. Did anybody teach or did you know of anybody by the name of Marva Motley? She taught
Yeah.
design at NC State. She goes to my church.
Okay. Yes. No, she had just started, I think, as I was leaving, but she was heavily involved in mentoring, especially African American uh, men and women in the program. And so I know her from that. Yeah, she's great.
So, what did you do after college? Like, did you come straight out of college with the job, or was it more of you were still job searching or job hopping?
Well, the funny thing is, when I graduated in 1996, bless you, in 1996, there was a huge recession and no one was hiring. It was crazy. However, there was a small firm in Durham named Isley Hawkins that was hiring. They were doing healthcare architecture, and a lot of their work was with Duke University. I spent 10 years with that firm and learned a lot about the business of architecture, about client relationships, and things like that. So, yes, I did get a job right out of school. I took that job even though it wasn't the dream job that I had in mind. It became that dream job because it taught me the skills that I needed to be who I am today. So. Just to give you a little history, I again worked 10 years with Isley Hawkins, 1 year with another firm in Durham, and before I started working with Phil Freelon at the Freelon Group. Worked there for about 10 years, and they became Perkins and Will. And about a year later is when I started Evoke with Billy and Edwin, my two partners.
So, I know that you mentioned you worked with Zena Howard. How was it?
It was great. Zena was so busy. She was just starting, I think, work on the National Museum, and she was constantly traveling. I was also constantly traveling, so it was like ships passing. But whenever we did or were in the same room together, she was very encouraging. She taught me a lot about project management, especially at a large scale or on a large scale project. I mean, she was able to handle it with such grace, and I learned a lot from her on that. So I've met a lot of people at Freelon. I met Phil, of course. I worked with him. Victor Vines, Vines Architecture as well, and then my two partners, of course. So there were a lot of amazing people that came through that firm.
I met Phil Freelon when I was 11. I went to this. It was kind of like it was held at NT State, and I think it was just a career, well, not career fair, but just like a event that he held, and there was a whole bunch of different science experiments, and just it was kind of like it was set up like a career fair, and you got to go to different stations and do different experiments. And then he also did talk to us about how he was in the process of the new museum they were building. And then we actually got to go up and see it, and it's so nice. It was
Yeah,
so big we couldn't even finish it. We got through the very first floor, and we made our way up to like the middle section, and we had to stop because it was just a lot
it's a
going on.
lot. That's right. I was fortunate enough because I had worked on the project early on to go up there 2 weeks prior to the opening, the grand opening, and we got a private tour with Phil and Zena and a lot of the team. And I don't think we got to see all of it because it was so massive, even with no one in the building but us.
So big.
But it was amazing the stuff that I saw.
So did you actually help them on the project, or were you just
I
there?
played a very small role as one of the project managers working under Xena. My business partner, Edwin Harris, was actually part of the design team. He worked in David Ajay's office as well as our office. Also, Brittany Aker-Kirkland of our office also worked in Ajay's office for a little while.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's really nice. It wasn't overwhelming, but it was just like a lot to just like take in at once. And I think, well, hopefully whenever we get the whole COVID under control and like stuff starts letting back up again, we can me and my family can go back and like try to finish the building, at least maybe like the middle half or the top half, because it was just so detailed, and like the structure of the building is just so nice, and it's just like I don't know how he did it, like how he just came up with it. It just looks really well put together.
It is an amazing
Mhm.
structure. Yeah.
So can you tell me about Evoke now for the people that don't know what it is?
Okay. So Evoke Studio Architecture, we are located in downtown Durham, North Carolina. It was founded in 2016 it was myself and my two business partners, as I mentioned before, Edwin Harris and Billy Askey. So Edwin and Billy lean more towards design, and Billy design and documentation. I lean more towards overall design and project management. But we all had a passion for architecture and architectural design, and we wanted to start a firm that really continued, I would say, the legacy of what we had at the Freeline Group, which was cultural projects, civic projects, projects that impacted the community or communities that were normally not touched or really weren't influenced by a lot of positive things. So we originally started out thinking, hey, we're going to do a bunch of museums, a bunch of libraries, and as it turns out, we started out doing some parks for the state park here in North Carolina. We did two parks on the coast. One is Pettigrew State Park, which just won several AIA North Carolina awards and I believe an Aspire award. And then Jockey's Ridge. Okay, so we started working on those projects, and then we are now working on several school projects, one in Durham County and one in Wake County. And so we were just awarded a Wake County school project. And so we're able to now look at all projects and infuse something amazing in them. It doesn't matter that they're not a museum or they're a library, but what we can do is influence the design of the building to reflect the history and culture of whoever our client is. And so that's really exciting for us. We are quite busy this year. It's amazing. 2020 has been so hard on many folks, but we have been blessed with wonderful clients, been given a lot of work, and we are ready to roll into 2021 with amazing things. So, yeah.
So when it comes to every project that you guys do you guys try to like incorporate like the same type of style and design, or do you guys try to switch it up? Because I know you said you based it off of the history of or the background of the person you're building it for or your client. So have you ever ran across situations, I guess, where most of your buildings not look the same, I guess, but they have the same feeling just because both people.
I would say no. I would say that all of our projects have the eye of Edwin, who is our design principal. And he has a certain flavor to his architecture, but by no means does he copy and paste. He is able to, again, be influenced. All of us are by our clients, by their history and culture. And that helps to shape the way the building is laid out. It helps to shape the design of the building. There may be some elements on each of the building that reflect Evoke, but each building and each client are different, and that's reflected in the architecture. So, yeah.
What so far has been like your favorite, most well-known project that you've done, and can you explain what it was and why that's what you're most proud of?
Oh, there's so many. So if you'll allow me, I'm going to have a couple. I would say when I was with Freelon, worked on Emancipation Park in Houston, and I worked on that project for over 7 years. Edwin Harris as well. He worked with me. We would fly out and meet with the clients there, meet with the local agencies that were reviewing the project, and really drove the project. Had a lot of community engagement on that project, which was amazing. It helped me to develop a strong engagement process. And so that I would say shaped me, and I'm sure Edwin would say the same. It shaped him to be able to think about who we are as architects and what we want for our new firm. And so as we started Evoke, our one of our first projects that has been built is North Carolina Central University TV studio. It's an amazing little project, but we were able to do a lot with that space. They came to us with just a regular room that had curtains to define the studio, and we were able to transform it into a studio that rivals our local TV stations. It's a beautiful project, and it's an award winner now. It won a NOMA national award a couple of weekends ago. And so we are excited about that project and hope to do more like that, where we are able to transform a space that most people look at and say it's not necessary, and we really make it something special for our clients. So both of those projects, I think, sort of helped shape us. We have some other projects that are just now starting design, and I'm not going to say much about them, but I can say that we've got a lot of exciting things to come. And as soon as that happens, they will probably become our most favorite projects in the office. But just a lot of good things happening.
So for the Central TV studio, was that more so interior designing, or did you guys actually like take apart some of the stuff and revamp it?
Yeah, we had to take it apart and revamp it. We moved rooms around. Um, we changed the entire entrance into the space. Before it was blocked off and you couldn't see into the studio. You couldn't even tell there was a studio behind there. And we opened it up, knocked down walls, and allowed folks visiting the space from the outside to see into the studio and what they were doing in there. And so, it was a complete transformation. We had all of the engineers, consultant engineers on board. So we touched the structure, the building structure. We added structure in order to allow equipment to be hung from the ceiling. We had mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers involved because all of that space was being transformed. So it was a complete transformation. Yes. Yeah.
How long was that whole process?
Oh, goodness. So it was a Title III project, which required us to design and complete construction within a year.
Oh
Now,
wow.
usually it takes a year to design and
Mhm.
another year for construction. So we really were able to do something great within a tight time frame. So,
Mhm.
mm.
What's been, if you have multiple, some of your hardest projects that you've had to deal with, maybe due to like the time frame you guys were given, or just like how big the project was, or how difficult it was to incorporate some of the things that the clients did want that you couldn't, it just wouldn't work with that space?
Mhm. Well, for that, I'm going to have to use a hypothetical because I don't want to put anyone out there on blast. But usually, you will have a tight budget for any project that you're working on because no matter what, the owner is going to want more than what their budget will allow. And so you really have to work with their expectations and find a way to make it a transformational project without using a lot of money.
Mhm.
As far as time is concerned, you have to have a team ready to move and make decisions quickly on our end as well as the owner's end, to make sure the project moves forward. A lot of times, the delay and lag in design is about decision making, and it's about getting approvals passed and things like that. So if we can start to scrunch that down, we can pretty much get the project moving swiftly. So I would say yes, in any project, you're going to have difficulties of budget and schedule, but there are ways to massage it so that it works out the way it needs to for each project.
What has been one of your most, I guess, memorable projects that you've done that's just not per se done well and that it's your favorite, but it's just like the history of the building was just so strong.
Yeah. Again, I have to go back to Emancipation Park. That project, learning about the history of the four founding fathers of that park
Mm-hmm.
and about how that whole neighborhood of the Third Ward was created out of that park and all the things that happened during historical times, around the park and how that really helped to shape that community. There were four sculptures that were designed. Edwin actually designed them around the four corners of the park that celebrated each of those four founders. There was a central piece in the middle that was an iconic gateway that they can use every year during Juneteenth celebrations to walk through those arches, celebratory, saying we're passing through from one year to the next, from one thing to the next. And so, we're part of that. That history is ingrained in us now. It will never go away. And that's amazing when a project can do that for you. A more recent project, Mary Potter School, and I think I showed you this when you
Mm-hmm.
were in our office, about the history of the education that those folks got there. It was a school for African Americans before integration. It was a school that gave an excellent education to folks all up and down the East Coast. And I didn't know about this history, and it's just north of Durham, and to find out about the fact that these students built the school themselves along with staff, and three of those buildings were still standing, and we could actually transform those buildings into something that they could use today. I mean, that's meaningful, that's powerful, and I don't know many other professions where you can have that happen. So, yeah, it's amazing.
I feel like one good thing about architecture is, one, there's so many different types of it, but also there's always going to be some type of history or background about whatever it is that you're building. So I feel like it's a mixture of art, but it's also a mixture of science and history and math. So I just like how it ties in everything, and it just makes one like beautiful creation in the end.
I agree. Yeah.
So I know that, well, I don't know, honest, actually, but was there any like projects you were working on that COVID kind of put to a halt, or like how is your studio, I guess, reacting to COVID, and how is it affecting your projects?
Right. So, as you can see, I'm working out of my home, and I have since the shutdown, and that has not stopped us at all. Our office is open, but was shut down when the governor's orders came down.
Mm-hmm.
It opened back up after that was lifted. And so folks can determine whether or not they want to work in the office or from home. We're flexible. But most of our projects, actually, a lot of our projects have continued to move, which has been great. I would say some of the university work has slowed because they are just concerned about the number of students that will be on campus and whether or not it makes sense for them to build certain things. But other than that, it's been going quite well. We've had a lot of work, an increased amount of work here towards the end of the year, and are now hiring more folks. So that's an exciting thing for us.
I do remember talking to one of your employees, and he was fresh out of college, and he went to NC State. So when it comes to hiring, are you guys looking for like younger students that are looking to, I guess, start their career off, or are you guys looking for more experienced people?
We're looking for everyone. I would say we're looking for folks who would be a good fit for our office,
Mm-hmm.
both the culture, the design interest. Um, as you saw, we have a lot of young designers. But we're interested in everyone, and so, or with all capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just have to have the same mindset that we do about architecture and design, and we can teach them a lot, even if they're fresh out of school. I think you were talking to Parker,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he and Jessica actually are just out of school, but they have made significant contributions to our firm, even though they're so young. So, yeah.
Do you guys do a lot of collaborations with different architecture firms, or is it mainly just you guys go off of what you guys know and your very own ideas and designs?
So we are open to collaborating if the project, if it makes sense for the project for us to collaborate. We are currently working with Fines Architecture on Windsor Chavis and Greensboro. That's a major project for us, and we thought it made sense for us to come together because Vines was strong in library design and we were strong in recreation design. This new facility is going to be something that no one has ever seen before. I believe. Um, it is combining library programming with recreational center programming, along with it's in the middle of a beautiful park called Noco Park, and really combining everything together so that it has no boundaries and just being a great asset or amenity for that community in Greensboro. So it made sense for us to join together at that point. We have been approached by larger firms and that are outside of the state wanting us to be their local representation, but I think to date that's the only project that we're teamed with another firm.
When
Go
it
ahead.
comes to how you guys find your projects, is it more of people come to you guys asking for y'all for your help, or is it like I remember you said something about bidding for a certain project, and it's like you're competing with other companies or firms that want to work on the project, and I guess the the customer chooses which people they like more.
Yeah. So you're talking about the proposal process, and
Mhm.
that happens with a lot of public projects. And so what happens there is a company that may be a state-run company, whether it's a school, whether it's a university, whether it's some other entity, civic related, they will send out requests for proposals from architects all around. It could be local. If it's a large enough project, you'll get proposals from folks outside of the state and even outside of the country. And so um, yes, you have to submit a proposal that says we want to do this work for you, and the proposal usually includes all of your qualifications and past projects that you've done that are similar. And then you're invited to be on a short list of interviewers or interviewees rather, and usually that's 3 to 5 people selected from maybe 50 people who've submitted, and then you go through the interview process, which is about an hour-long process similar to what we're doing now, where I tell them or we tell them about Evoke and what we can do for them.
Mhm.
If they like us, then they hire us, and if not, then someone else will get the job. We also get people to call us up, private owners and clients, to say we want to work with you and come out and check us out and see what you can do for us, and that's a great thing. And then the third way is usually by our consultants or friends that know us and understand what we do, that are in the business, and they can sort of connect us with folks that are looking for an architect. So there are multiple ways of getting work, and we are open to all of them.
Has there ever been any projects where you just had too many projects at once going on? Like, do you guys? I know since you are, well, from what I saw, it wasn't really like big. It didn't look like a lot of people work there. Is that because a lot of people were at home and just a lot of people weren't in the office, or do you guys split it up? And if you do so, has there been any times where you have so many projects at once, like you either had to drop one or you just had to like split everybody in half, and some people work on one project and some people work on the other?
So we have project teams to help with distributing projects. We would never drop a project. We probably wouldn't take a project if we couldn't do it. But once we take on a project, then we work as feverishly as possible to make sure that the client's happy and the project gets done. When you came to our office, yeah, I think half of the office was it was on a Friday,
Mhm.
either working from home or just happened to be taking some time off. So usually there's a lot of folks in there. Every desk is full right now. Um, but we've got a lot of hardworking folks that work I won't say 24 hours a day, but it seems like it's close to that to make sure that the projects are complete.
So does Evoke do everything, and like, do they do like the landscape, the interior design, the designing of the whole thing, or is that when you bring in other companies to help you guys do that?
Right. We plan everything, but we bring in consultants to take on those things. And you met Eric Davis with Surface
Mm-hmm.
Landscape, and we have worked with Surface for well, for quite some time, actually, before we even started our own firm. They are an excellent landscape firm, and we love working with them because they really understand design and incorporating that into our projects. But mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, we bring them on board. Civil engineers can help with site issues, utilities, and things like that. And structural is very important. We want to make sure the building stands up and doesn't fall down. So everyone has an important role on the project, and we value all of our engineers. We take the lead as architect usually on projects, and really lead the entire team through the process. We oversee all the design decisions that are involved with the project, but they really take it off and do what they need to make sure the project is done correctly.
So what's been some of the biggest challenges, I guess, you face while being in college or just being in the workforce you're in now? And it doesn't have to really, I guess, deal with you being a woman or you being African American, just like in general.
So there are a lot of challenges, but I think that's true for every
Mhm.
field of work. And you have to determine whether or not you're going to let that hold you back or, push forward, push through it. Those things as barriers should not be there. They are there, and hopefully slowly in my lifetime, they will start to tumble down. But in the meantime, you have to have what I call grit. And this is something that my friend Rashay Height did a whole presentation on. Uh, and for instance, Rashay is someone you really need to speak with. She's really an up and coming architect. I think you may have seen her on the NOMA page, but she's someone that you should speak with. But anyway, having said that, it's really about making a determination early on that nothing is going to stop you from what you need to do. It doesn't matter who it is, what they say to you, what they do to try to stop you. If you're determined to do it, you're going to do it. I would say I have always been a very quiet, shy person. So that's one barrier. And that's something that I put on myself that I had to overcome. And so that was a struggle. I think, people's perception of you, the way you look, the way you act, may not be what they think you should be, but you be you. I mean, you can't change who you are. You can enhance and you can highlight your strengths, but always be yourself and be true to who you are. There's people who tried to, in subtle ways, discourage me or stop me. Um, but I look at it as just an opportunity to do better and to succeed and show them that I can succeed. So I would say that to you that, we all know what's out there. We all know what's there in our way, in our path, but try to figure out ways around that and don't let it stop you. Um, that would be my advice.
I think when it comes to me being in high school, one of the, I guess, not well barriers. I mean, I am a really quiet, shy person. I don't really I'm not the loudest person when it comes to like being in a room. I'm always just like very reserved into myself. So I also think that's something that I put on myself that I've really been working on. But when it comes to me, I used to look at it as well, in all of my drafting classes, I mean, everybody knows the architectures are really like male dominated thing, or like just engineering period, and it's mainly full of just men, and most of them tend to be Caucasian. So I think that was something that I put on myself in the beginning, which is why I questioned, like, is this really what I want to do? Do I really want to ever have to like experience going through just what they think of me and me taking it personally? But then I had to sit back with my parents, and like they had to tell me that shouldn't be a reason that something stops you. If anything, it should make you want to go harder about it. But then I also had to stop I guess, telling myself that the reason I want to do this is to prove everybody else wrong. I think the main reason why I want to be an architect is because I've come to realize that I do have a passion for it, and I do have it's a blessing, honestly, to know what you want to do and to be actually be able to just pursue it and know that you're good at it. And I had to stop thinking about it as if you know, it's so male dominated, and it's just a lot of not non-colored people. I just want to do this just to be able to tell them how I did it. No, I want to do it because I have a passion for it, and it is a skill that I've just crafted and learned how to do better and better every single time I do it. So yeah, I'm just doing these interviews and talking to my parents and talking to other African American female architects. I just had to look at it as if this is just something I'm just really good at. And if it's a passion, you go for it. And I think that's how I switched from wanting to pursue law to just actually finding something that really sticks with me. Because when it came middle school and like freshman year of high school, I was just so focused on becoming a lawyer. But then I had to look at myself and I was like, I don't like arguing with people. I don't like talking to a lot of people. I'm very quiet. I'm very shy. So how would that happen in a courtroom in front of a lot of people? And so that's why after realizing, hey, I'm actually good at this, like drawing stuff, maybe I should try to find a career in that. And I've never actually taken an art class ever. So I think that's something I also need to focus on. And it doesn't even have to be like a class, just sitting down, sketching, just copying a picture or anything. So
I would say sketch, like you said, you could first start out by using objects and sketching them, or other images and sketching them, but then start to do things freehand or on your own, because what it's really about is your creativity, not necessarily how well you draw, but what is that thing that you're creating. I would say to you, as a fellow shy person, that no matter what you do, you can overcome that. Like, as a younger me, there's no way I could sit in front of you right now and be talking to you like this. But over the years, I wanted to be where I am today more than my fear of speaking with people and speaking in front of people, things like that. So I learned how to overcome that just with training and determination. So you can do whatever you want to. And I can tell you right now, you are more advanced than I was at your age. And I know that you're going to do amazing things no matter what field you choose to go in. You're on it. And so congrats to you. And I'm really glad to have met you. Yeah.
I think it just comes from just having a really good support system, because I know my parents have always been supportive of me regardless of what it is I wanted to do. They've always made me do little workshops or just different programs on the weekends. Whenever I had free time, it was always like, well, you need to do something that's extracurricular so that it'll look good on your resume and like when you're applying for colleges. And now that it's that time, I'm actually looking at it. And I look at my resume and it's like, wow, if my parents like never made me do any of this, I would have nothing out here.
Right.
And it's just like something my mom and dad both told me was like, they signed me up for all this stuff so that I can realize like if this is something I want to do, cool. If not, at least I can say I tested the waters, and if I didn't like it, I just didn't like it. So I think just having a good support system at home, and then also when it comes to me being shy, I just feel like it's something I have to overcome, because if I can be like just one of the most amazing architects ever, but if I don't know how to present my work, then nobody's ever gonna know that I can do what I actually say I can do. So I think also when it comes to Black Girls Draw, it's helped me open up, and it's helped me with my speaking skills. It's helped me just share information and things that I've done, so that when it comes to the actual real world and the adult world, I'll be able to present any project that I've done or be able to vouch for myself, because I know that if I can't vouch for myself, nobody else will be able to, because they don't know what I've done. So yeah.
Very true. Yep.
So is there any questions you have for me, or does anybody else in the comment section have a question?
Oh. It's funny that Ivan would be asking this question because Ivan, I early on did say that part of it was your dad and my dad's construction company back in the day. I would go on site and see what they were doing and really got interested in, you know, building things and, what does that mean and who designs those buildings. That was one thing that prompted me to get into this field. The other thing was just a passion for visual arts, just performing arts, just being in that world and creating. So, creating dance, creating paintings, creating, whatever, and just incorporating that into something. You knew my mom, and she really sparked my interest in architecture, and so that was sort of something that was not driven into me, but influenced and pushed me my entire life. So I appreciate that question, Ivan. Thank you. Oh, great. Let's see. What advice would I give someone to stay motivated and not lose focus? I would say the word that I used before, you have to have grit. You have to have that understanding internally that you want to do something and nothing is going to stop you from doing it. I know a lot of times, I can say that it's easy to say, and a lot of times, things bring me down or make me second guess what I'm doing. But if you can go back to that certain thing that drove you there in the first place and keep going back to that, that's one thing that can help. And also having a great support system. My husband has been my rock um, through this most of this entire process because he was with me when I was in college, and so he understood the late nights and studio and things like that, and then all the traveling I did when I was with the Freelon group, and just having someone that encourage you constantly is good. So have someone on your team, a cheerleader on your team. These are great questions.
I have a question. Was there any time during your whole process that you just were maybe like really down? Because I know you talk about grit, but like I know it's hard for everybody. Sometimes they have those moments where they're just like, hey, maybe I just need to choose something different. Like, was there any times that you were just really low?
Yes. I would say right towards the end of my career in college, I was thinking, hey, maybe I could do this or that. I'll get my degree, but maybe something else was meant for me. And at the time, my mom was the cheerleader, the person who pushed me, and she was like, "I don't think so. Number one, we spent all this money for you to go to school. At least get out and try and see what it's all about." And once I got out and started working, I was like, "Do I really want to take this ARE exam?" And she was like, "Yes, you are going to do that, and you're going to pass it. And then once you pass it, you can determine what you want to do after that." So, it's humorous now to think about it, but back then it really pushed me. She was right. Like if I had stopped at that point, I wouldn't be where I am right now. If I had doubted myself then and stayed in that, then I would be somewhere else doing something else.
I think that's one thing. What's the biggest nugget you got?
Oh, from Phil. Yeah, Phil was an amazing man, and I just put it that way. I think my career restarted or had a rebirth once I started working at the Freelon Group. Um, Phil was also a champion or a cheerleader for all of the architects in his office. He, would encourage you. He wouldn't allow you to not do your best. Let's just put it that way. He was not taking any mess from anybody as far as doing half away stuff. You had to, put your full self into it. He expected a lot from the people that worked for him, and that brought us all to a different level. So, um, I don't think there was one nugget, but I think just that attitude of you are working here under me and you are going to put your best foot forward in front of the client, in front of the end user, in front of everybody because you're representing, this firm.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I think that's one good thing about when it comes to being in school with people like you're finally in a school with people that actually want to do what you want to do. I think it's better to have students that are, yeah, they know this is like not a competition, but I want to be better than the next person. But it's also you're not leaving anybody behind. You want to make sure everybody's moving on up and nobody's left in the dust and really struggling. So I think that's one thing. That's one good thing about how college majors are set up. You're always taking a class with somebody that's in the same career path as you. So I think that's one good way to think about it. But I just wanted to thank you again for letting me interview and letting me come to your studio and meet you guys. I think it's a wonderful place to work at. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Morgan, and I appreciate you reaching out to me. Number one, it's an honor for me to be on this program with you, and I am encouraged by you, and I would love to, follow your track and follow your path of your career.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So thank you,
Thank you.
guys, for watching today. I hope that you guys all took away something from this experience, just like I did. I ask that you continue to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at blackgirlsDRAW, and we will be announcing our next date for our little girls session very soon. And I hope you guys purchase some of our sweatshirts and shirts that are on our website. And thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Have a nice night. Stay safe.